Did you know that homosexuality has existed since ancient times, often hidden in plain sight? Uncover the fascinating journey of same-sex relationships throughout history in this episode of our series. Let us go back, way back, to ancient civilizations. In Mesopotamia, as early as 1700 BCE, we find recorded evidence of homosexual relationships. The Code of Hammurabi, a Babylonian legal text, subtly references same-sex acts. Remarkably, homosexuality wasn't outright condemned. Sometimes it was even acknowledged in ritualistic settings. It was woven into the fabric of daily life, but details were always shrouded in nuance. Flash forward to ancient Greece, one of the most famous focal points for homosexual relationships in history. In this society, same-sex love wasn't taboo. It was a shared cultural experience often celebrated in art and literature. The relationships between older men and younger males, often mentors and protégés, were considered a way to impart wisdom and societal values. Some of the most prominent figures like Socrates and Alexander the Great are believed to have engaged in such relationships. However, it's important to note that love between women in ancient Greece was largely ignored in historical records, reflecting a male-dominated narrative. On to the Roman Empire, where attitudes towards homosexuality were somewhat more complicated. Romans distinguished between socially acceptable and unacceptable relationships based on power dynamics, class, and the role each person played. Dominance was key. The status of the penetrating partner often dictated the acceptability of the act. It wasn't necessarily about gender, but rather about control and social hierarchy. Homosexuality was acknowledged, but it carried specific, often restrictive labels in this empire. As we step into the shadows of the Middle Ages, we find that homosexual relationships were far less documented, and attitudes shifted severely. Early Christian doctrines labeled same-sex love as sinful. Medieval laws harshly punished homosexual acts, branding them unnatural and an affront to divine will. Public trials, executions, and social ostracization became the harsh reality. Yet, even within this oppressive era, love stories of same-sex couples, like some accounts of passionate monks or the eloquent poetry of certain abbesses, surfaced, defying societal constraints. Renaissance Europe brought a mixed bag. Laws against homosexuality were stringent, but there were secret societies and underground scenes that allowed homosexuality to persist. The Medici courts of Florence, for instance, tolerated and even celebrated it, at least in artistic interpretation. Evidence lies in the subtle yet bold masterpiece, The Birth of Venus, by Botticelli, or Leonardo da Vinci's alleged homosexuality, hidden but undeniable in his sketches and writings. The industrial era, starting from the late 18th century, marked another turning point. Homosexuality remained criminalized in many regions, but this was also the time when terminology around same-sex attraction began to crystallize. The term homosexual itself was coined in 1869. Across the globe, especially in Western Europe and North America, individuals began secretly forming communities and writing literature that explored love and identity outside heterosexual norms. Though acts remained punishable in numerous countries, the secret journals, coded language, and private spaces of LGBTQ+ individuals helped foster a sense of shared identity. Fast forward to the 20th century. The slow but steady march toward recognition and rights began to accelerate. LGBTQ+ rights faced monumental setbacks, including Nazi Germany's persecution of homosexuals, but momentum grew post-World War II. The Stonewall riots of 1969 became a watershed moment, setting the template for modern pride demonstrations. Same-sex relationships were now spoken of openly, fought for politically, and celebrated by larger communities. And here we are today, The tapestry of history shows us that homosexuality has always existed, persecuted by some, celebrated by others, but never disappearing. Each era tells us a story of courage, of love, and of resistance against the tides of prejudice. Ancient murals, court records, and grim trials reveal the milestones that paved the way for current freedoms. Remember, history isn't static, it evolves through us. Learning about homosexuality in history isn't just about celebrating love, it's about recognizing the courage it took to simply exist as one's true self. So next time you see the rainbow flag, remember the trials and triumphs etched into its vibrant colors. Let's honor the past, embrace the present, and step boldly into the future.